are you?
Oh, good.
Good,
Terrific.
good.
Okay, we are live at Project Freedom Radio Network right now, and it's a pleasure to have you on this evening.
Thank you so
Um,
much.
if I can ask one question here, it says that you had an enlightening experience that awoke her to the ability to perceive other realms, hear angelic beings, and increase the empathy and clairvoyant abilities. So, what kind of an enlightened experience was that?
In 2001, I was actually lying on a sound table and having a sound table experience. And a sound table is a massage table essentially filled with water with speakers underneath it.
Right.
And so as I was lying on that sound table and listening to different selections of music, drums, Native American flute, my entire consciousness shifted literally within 30 seconds, where I
Wow.
was then able to perceive other beings, other realms, feel people's feelings, hear their thoughts, and see what it was they're really intending on mastering,
Mhm.
and also see the mechanisms that they currently had in place in order to attain those particular spiritual lessons and vibrations inside themselves. So it was kind of like getting x-ray glasses in 30 seconds and then taking 3 years to figure out how to navigate that terrain of incredible high sensitivity.
Well, I was going to say that must be quite a shock to the system to all of a sudden have that.
Lots of adrenal support, I gotta tell you.
Oh, I betcha. Wow. The ability to help people really release the root causes of their suffering. Uh, is this the type of client that you have that comes to you because they have major problems?
Yeah, a lot of the people that work with me are interested in spiritually shifting, growing, and evolving. And my angle is really helping people shift, grow, and evolve, not so much using their mind or their diet or their body, but more using their energetic fields. And so we all have energy fields around us. We also have what I call the higher self. It's like your super self, your vibrational self.
Right.
And when we communicate directly with that higher self by making that request to that higher self to use the energetic fields, we're then able to locate ancestral blocks, belief systems, mechanisms that aren't very efficient or pleasant. And we use the energy fields, the higher self, to clear those and to bring in healthier ways of being. And from my perspective, the physical dimension is actually a reflection of the higher realms. So what we're doing is we're going into those higher realms, recalibrating, reworking those higher realms, and then allowing for that reflection. And then we feel the shift inside ourselves.
Hmm. Wow, fascinating stuff. Um, what was I going to ask? Yeah, you do a lot of music too, it looks like, eh?
I do. I'm a sound healer. And the way that that came about was after my enlightenment experience, I had the angelic choir singing to me in the higher realms, kind of 24/7. And in that first 3 years, they were telling me that I too was going to be a sound healer using sound to help people shift their consciousness and their blocks, their belief systems that were limiting.
Hmm.
And when they told me that, I was like, you've got to be kidding. There's no way that I'm going to, do ooh in front of people.
Right.
And after 3 years of hearing this angelic choir, I was in a session with a client of mine, and I have my master's degree in Oriental medicine. And so I had a private practice as an acupuncturist. And this was a client that I'd been working with for several years and was very comfortable with. And he had some shoulder pain that no matter how much massage or acupuncture, herbs, rolfing, physical therapy, it just wouldn't touch his shoulder pain. And in the session, I heard my guides and felt them come through, and they started making a sound that I was supposed to mimic. And apparently, the sound, from what they were telling me, would help him shift and release his shoulder pain. And so, the very first time I kind of came out as a sound healer was in that private one on one session with that client. And I said, this is kind of weird, but would you be up for me trying something that's a little different? And I'm going to make a sound and see if it helps your shoulder pain. And he goes, I don't care, do whatever. And so I started making this fairly discordant sound. It wasn't the most pleasant sound, but what I was doing was listening to the sound of imbalance that was happening in his shoulder.
Hmm.
And as I made that discordant sound, I could hear it starting to shift and change, and the sound became more harmonic and beautiful and balanced. And after about a minute, 2 minutes of making those sounds, and that sound shifting and changing, I then had him move his arm around, and he looked at me in total disbelief and said, oh my God, it's better. And I was like, really? It worked? And so from that place, I moved forward, and now I have 5 albums of sound healing, and I just came out with my most recent album called Sound Medicine, which is a very powerful 45-minute experience of 6 different tracks that basically help the energy fields clear, helps all the chakra systems balance out. And then the very end is this really beautiful whale healing song that I picked up when I was in Panama.
Wow. Well, I know scientifically now they're actually starting to wake up a little bit and see that all of this stuff does work.
It
And
does. It
and
does.
it's well with they work with plants and stuff like that, and you know especially with music and
Hmm.
the different tones and stuff, and
Yeah, Germany.
you play Bach or something
Yes.
like that to them, and they grow like mad, and you play something like Led Zeppelin, and they all grow away from it, and
Hmm. Hmm.
so it is the tones, and you know, as we go further into it, we have a USOX team with us, a group of major archaeologists throughout the world who come to Project Freedom Radio and do the shows. And uh, there's different things within the pyramids that are sound waves that make doors open and different things happen. It's very mystical, like in the pyramids. They're finding that now. That a lot of this, of the ancient technologies and the ancient I don't like saying religions, customs and stuff were basically around sound.
Yeah.
So it makes a lot of sense to me that something like that would happen. By the way, I would like to say that we have John Coxon with us today too. Say hi, John.
Hi, John, and hi, Aleya. Thanks for coming in.
She's John is one of our co-hosts here. So
Okay.
yeah, so you've got different CDs out, as you said. You have 5 and plus one new one, is it?
Actually, it's 5. So in 2007, I recorded my first commercial CD with Barry Goldstein, who is a really amazing composer and musician in New York. And that was in 2007. And then after that, I created Angelic Healing that actually just got picked up by Sounds True and will be out on the shelves on the Sounds True shelves in September of 2014, and it's going to be renamed Light Body Healing. And so that's a really sweet, gentle, toning, purist album that'll be coming out in its new form, but it's also available on my website right now. And then I also created a 45-minute journey of whale songs with oming, and that is called Oming with Whales. And then I have another album called In Stillness, which is kind of a combination of Enya, whales, monks singing, but all from, me and the whales, and George Friedenthal, my pianist. And it's a combination of some really beautiful, soothing songs. And then the final one is the Sound Medicine album, which I created really for people that have a lot of fear-based issues going on in their body, physical health imbalances, to really help the body heal vibrationally.
Right. Do you find that most of the people that come to you are dealing with health problems?
No, I would say maybe half of my clients are dealing with health problems, and then the other half are really wanting to clear emotional blockages and issues, but really using the angle more from looking at our greatest challenges as our greatest asset. So if I have insecurity, my soul is really attempting on mastering self-confidence. If I'm really arrogant, my soul is really working on mastering humility. I'm just doing the opposite of that which I'm intending. And so when I'm working with people, I'm really looking at what are their challenges and how can they actually use those challenges as fuel to attain the vibration their soul is determined to attain. And we just bring in more efficient ways of doing it.
Right, right. I was wondering about that because in our global society today, it is so powerfully negative, and people get discouraged. They get, just the everyday life is a burden on them. It certainly isn't a pleasure. The upper middle class may be having a little bit more pleasure because they can afford it. The middle class is just worrying about keeping a house over their head and heat and hydro costs going up. I know we're in Canada here, and we just got notice that by the end of the year it'll be something like a third more for hydro, and it's just outrageous right now. Anyway, And these are burdens that gradually play down a person's psyche, as I call it, and imbalanced. They're not balanced. They lack that energy. You know, they would love to be able to meditate, but we just don't have time. They're running in circles trying to just sustain themselves. Um, do you think that a lot of the people that maybe come to you, that other half, that do have, let's say, spiritual, emotional problems, are because they just are finding it hard to cope today in our global society?
I think that everybody is at a different point in their evolutionary process, and eventually when we reach a certain level in our spiritual growth and our journey, we start looking for other ways of navigating and other ways of filling our cup, so to speak. And the people that I work with, it's from all across the spectrum. There's people that have millions and millions of dollars and people that are on welfare. And when I'm looking at where somebody is in their spiritual growth and evolution and the challenges that they're experiencing, what I really find is they're tired of looking externally to get those needs met. So if I have enough money in my bank account, then I'll feel safe. Or if I have a right livelihood that really is beautiful and wonderful, then I'll be fulfilled internally. Yet, when we get those things in the outer world and we haven't found it internally, it doesn't do anything for us. We're still flat. We're still empty. And so when I think about the people that you're speaking to, of the hydropower, it's going up and there's a struggle, there's this place of looking for abundance and safety and fulfillment externally. And the journey is about finding that vibration internally in the inner river of light. So there's this divine line that flows on the front of the spine. And when we start finding our vibrational needs internally in that place, then eventually, after a month, a week, a year, 2 years, depending, it starts being reflected in our outer world. And so what I actually started doing was recording a 7 to 10 minute meditation and delivering it to subscribers all over the world. And it's your morning cup of consciousness. And it's this little audio file that helps your energy fields move into greater degrees of intelligence and finding those needs internally so that you can slowly start creating a different reality for yourself externally. But it's not because you're looking for it externally, you're looking for it internally, which then creates it externally.
Wow. Yeah, well, that certainly makes sense. I know that we have a lot of different people come over here, and as you say, we got them from millionaires to welfare people. And I find that a lot of people just aren't aware of their ability they have within themselves to be able to project this sort of a lifestyle. I know that I went very, very deep into The Secret. I'm sure you've read The Secret. And I think last week or week before, we had Maureen St. Germain. I don't know if you heard of Maureen. Anyway, she was very much into the same type of thing as The Secret, but it went even deeper. And I know I've met a lot of people who read The Secret, and they said it was all monetary, but what you must do is look, between the lines, as far as I'm concerned. I've had the opportunity to be able to work The Secret for the last maybe 7, 8 years, and it's worked out phenomenally for me. And it's given me exactly what I wanted, my needs, not my wishes, because I wish I had $1 million by Friday. But it certainly, gives me my needs, and it's a different little things, I think, Aleya, that really people don't even realize. Like, I never park any more than 2 or 3 cars from the main entrance to a mall at any time of day. Doesn't matter if the place is filled. I just know my parking spot's going to be there waiting for me. And maybe it's because I'm in a positive frame of mind to do it. But little things like that constantly are happening. And, I'm really looking forward to looking deeper into what you provide here, these CDs. And, I'm sure you have a website here too, right?
I do. The website that people could go to get a free week of the daily cups of consciousness and or free tall cups, which is an hour-long energy balancing session, is cupsofconsciousness.com. Or they could go to aleyadao.com, ALEYADAO.com. And There's a ton of tools, a lot of stuff for free. I probably have 1,000 meditations online that people can purchase, and then maybe 50 meditations that are free if you go to the Cups of Consciousness from AleyaDao.com. And with that formula, I think everybody's looking for a formula that actually works, that can help them shift their reality, their physical world and their inner world. And The Secret definitely talks about a particular formula. And when I work with myself and with my hundreds of clients and in the daily meditations and the Cups of Consciousness, the formula that I figured out is to acknowledge that we have a higher self. And we also have this vibrational aspect of our body that I call our body deva's higher self. So it's like the nature spirit of the physical human form. And we also have a team. It's the angelic presence that surrounds us. And so the formula essentially is inviting the higher self, the body deva's higher self, the team's higher self, to work with the energetic fields and the guides to locate all ancestral issues of lack that we might be carrying and trying to shift and fix for the ancestors, to release all of those vibrations and all of those issues of the ancestors, to return the appropriate information to whomever it is that needs it, and then to invite the higher self, the body, David's higher self, and the team to work with the energetic fields and the guides to bring in all of the grids of abundance and support that is our own soul's mastery into the energetic fields. And then by holding that gentle container for those vibrational aspects of ourself, our body, and our team to do that work up high, and then allow for that reflection in the physical realm, that's when the shift starts to happen. But it's really not using the mind to make it happen. It's more like double clicking on your hard drive and letting the hard drive open up a different application, delete an application you don't need, and then allowing for that reflection to happen on the desktop, on your computer screen. And that computer screen is more your emotional, physical, and energetic fields.
Wow. Well, I know that there is a singularity and interconnectedness with the entire universe, all the dimensions, and I think basically what you've done is connected them all together here, and as in angelic beings and the higher consciousness, and when we really study consciousness and what it is, it's just totally amazing. I basically understand what you're talking about. Certainly not. I'm just a metaphysician. I have a degree in metaphysics, but and I'm more on the physics side than the meta.
And you say just a metaphysics.
Yeah, just a metaphysics. I've been studying that for 26 years at the University of Toronto, and I am the director of the Bartoni Metaphysical Society and the Institute of Applied Metaphysics out of Ottawa. And so I understand basically what you're talking about, but the consciousness, if people could understand that the consciousness is so very important when you look at it, because now in science we've actually got scientific proof of this stuff, and we didn't, let's say, 5 years ago or whatever. And we look into a lot of alternative news and stuff here at P4N, and when you take a look at the fact that the speed of light is 186,000 miles per second, we think that's very, very fast. Yet it takes 400 light years to get from the Andromeda system to here. Mm-hmm. The speed of consciousness is 183 million miles per second. Mm. To go from the Andromeda system here, it takes about a quarter of a second.
Right.
So the speed of consciousness, the speed of what you can connect with the singularity, with the higher self, is instantaneous. And, I don't know. I understand what you're talking about, maybe in a different way, that's all.
Right. No, totally. And when I, kind of come up with that formula, I talk about it when I work a lot with children. And so I call it their super self. It's that vibrational self that exists in a higher dimension that does all of the work. And for myself, I have memory of what it was like not to be in a human form, to be on the other side, to be in that light body. And from my memory and my recollection of being there, the majority of the work and the shifting happens actually in a higher dimensional plane, not so much the physical realm. And so our greatest challenge is that we've been schooled in this Newtonian physics and Newtonian law. And from my perspective, the real work is actually happening in these higher planes, these higher dimensions. And then so if we really use those higher planes to do that work and then allow for the reflection in the physical dimension, that's when our consciousness shifts. And so the mantras are great, the yoga poses are wonderful, the clean diet is good, but it all is setting up so that we can access these higher multiple planes, higher dimensional planes, do the work there, and then we feel with that higher levels of sensitivity because our bodies are clean, our minds are quiet. Mm-hmm. Then we feel the shifts, then we can embody the shifts, then we can hold a higher vibration, then we don't link into the disease, the lack, the magnetic attraction for the challenges.
Right. Don't you think that everybody needs their own way of looking at it? And if you can help them find their own way of looking at it, then they can get healed, let's say, in the healing end of it. I know that my experience is that I didn't have what you would call a lot of faith in what other people said, because I've had 6 different careers, and it's been an interesting life. But point being that I didn't understand how this higher consciousness or my higher consciousness could actually help manifest something, such as my own self-healing, and or a stimulus to help me heal myself, such as the sound waves and such. But then when I looked at it scientifically and saw the slot or split experiment and understood what atoms are, and when they are bombarded towards a single slit in a screen, the back wall projects a single slit. When you put 2 slits in the screen, the back wall produces hundreds of splits until any observer, doesn't matter who, walks around behind the screen and looks at it, and it becomes the 2 slits that are in the screen, basically proving that the electrons that are going through, being bombarded with photons, it all goes through as wave and stays as wave until a consciousness looks at it, and the consciousness turns it into particle. Mm-hmm. Because it goes through as wave, ends up being particle if it is observed.
Right.
Now, when you take a look at that and you say, okay, what are you doing here? You're giving cups of consciousness and all the rest of this stuff. What you're doing is allowing these people to change that wave consciousness into particle, basically, or into what we call reality. Heal the shoulder.
Exactly. It's pointing them behind the screen, as for your example, mm-hmm. and by helping them see this other plane of existence, their consciousness then creates this amplification of their intentions. Right? So if we've got this blueprint that's held on the 7th floor, for an example, mm-hmm. just pretending, and we are never aware that there's a blueprint held on the 7th floor. We never go up to the 7th floor. We never change the blueprint up there. We never change the template, the grid, the vibrations, the codes. Then it doesn't change in the physical realm. So we might spend our entire existence trying to change the blueprint on the 1st floor, but the blueprint exists on the 7th floor. And so those cups of consciousness are really speaking to that aspect of us that exists on the 7th floor. And then we're talking to that aspect of ourselves on the 7th floor to infuse it with a different color, a different frequency, a different tone, a different consciousness, a different emotion, vibration. And then when that blueprint changes there, it then reflects into this physical plane, this 1st floor. And voila, our world changes because of that shift in the consciousness, because of where we're holding our perceptions.
Right.
So exactly.
We brought it into reality.
Yeah.
And, that's what really counts.
Amplified.
Amplified, and it's there, and bang.
And reflected. The consciousness creates the reflection.
Yes. It creates a reflection. And, I describe it creates the reality. It's just, it's real. It's not this airy fairy stuff that, she does meditations and it's supposed to make you feel better. Well, no. It's,
That's a side effect.
Yeah, well, yeah. But, you know, a lot of the alternative type of things that we do here at the station get a little bit of criticism from the people who are living in that hypnotic trance, basically called slavery on this planet, and they don't want to open their minds to anything except what Mommy and Daddy said when in the 1940s. Okay, stop.
Well, that could be because their soul is at a place in their evolution where they value safety over freedom.
Yeah, that's true. Oh, that's a good way of putting it, Aleya.
Right.
Yeah.
So then we don't go into judgment and we look at them from the place of, okay, it's sort of like you go into a grocery store and you go, okay, I'm going to make a bundt cake. And so that means I need flour, I need sugar, maybe it's gluten-free flour, I need baking soda, whatever it is, whatever the ingredients are. And so I think of it more from the place of everybody's on the planet with their own little grocery list. And some people need safety, some people need freedom, some people need to go deep within. So they're going to be self-absorbed, over maladaptive narcissists. Mm-hmm. And so however somebody is functioning in the world, if we look at it more from the place of they're getting their vibrational needs met, engaging in that behavior that we might not agree with or we might not think is very evolved. Mm-hmm. So when I look at people that are really politically conservative and they don't even think that the climate is changing or they need to be in that place of judgment, their souls are working on finding a deep level of safety and security, and they aren't valuing freedom. They don't value expansion because their soul just isn't ready for that.
Well, I'm glad there's people like you around because I couldn't do it. I'm one of those type of people. ADD? You got ADD? Bend over. I'll give you a good kick in the butt and you can smarten up.
Or ADD is looking at the world from a slightly different perspective. And people who can't focus in the physical realm are more focused in the higher realms.
Yeah, and that's like dyslexia and the rest of it. I told somebody when they told me they had dyslexia, I said, good for you. You see things a lot better than I do. And
because it triggers a different part of the brain.
Yeah, it's a different part
of the brain. So that we can access a different way of being. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I've been very, very fortunate because, as a child, and I suppose now, I have a certain amount of dyslexia. See, I can't even say it. But I've been an artist all my life too, a portrait artist. So everything is very exacting, and I think that it's helped me an awful lot because I don't look at it. When I see an R written backwards, to me it's still an R. It doesn't matter if it's written the other way. Mm-hmm. It's exactly the same as being an artist. An apple is sitting on the table, and that's an apple. Who cares? It's an apple. Mm-hmm. That's the ordinary perspective of it. But as an artist, I had to look at it and say verbally to myself, this object is round, and it's got a stem, and it's red, and it's got green spots, and it's got reflection coming off the right. It's got backlight on the left. And when I described everything, like a 500-word essay on this apple, then I could draw it. Mm-hmm. And not miss any of the points. And by God, it looked like an apple.
Right. But at the same time, so for you, in order to for you to be able to perceive the apple in that way or life in that way, mm-hmm. your soul has gotten to a place of being firmly anchored in that, what I call the divine line, that river of light. And therefore you have the capacity to feel the safety in there and not have to find the safety externally, which means you can look at things from lots of different angles and perspectives. Whereas an individual that doesn't have themselves firmly anchored in their inner river of light and isn't finding that safety deep in their core, they'll have to look at things from a very narrow perspective without a whole lot of expandedness, because that would be too frightening for them.
Right.
So as an individual looks at things from different angles, we get to go, wow, that person is pretty firmly anchored in their own inner truth, mm-hmm. That enables them to see through that wider lens.
Right. And I think that's, a very good analogy of the whole thing. If you can help people open up and to see, through these tall cups of consciousness and energy balancing sessions and stuff like this, then that's, a miracle, basically. Are you still with me? No? Did I lose you?
Yeah, I am.
Okay.
Yeah, no, you were cutting in and out, but I'm back. I'm here.
Okay, good. Yeah, Skype sometimes says that to us. Can't trust Skype anymore. Yeah, so the music, especially balancing sessions and online meditations, classes, helping people discover how to move forward with greater peace, empowerment, and freedom. I think that's a beautiful statement because isn't that what we all wanted? Oops, we lost her.
Oh, no.
Okay, we will try again and see if we can get there.
Hello.
Hello.
We're back.
We're back. Good. Anyway, where I was helping people discover how to move forward with greater peace and empowerment and freedom. I think that's what it's all about. And because everybody has their own, let's say, thought about what empowerment should be and freedom should be and greater peace should be. Some people just want to, something very simple, and other people, as you say, they may have everything in the world, but they're not happy. So, they need a spiritual empowerment.
Exactly. And there's an interesting definitely, and there's an interesting component that I will bring into the work that I do, into the meditations and the energy balancing sessions and my private sessions with people, and that is speaking to them about how to serve and be a positive change in the world in a healthy, co-creative way instead of a codependent way. So often we get attached and desire things for other people. We want other people to respect the planet. We want other people to treat each other with respect and integrity, or to be authentic, to be connected. And the moment we take any desire or attachment and place it on another person, then what happens energetically is we then take responsibility for them being that way. And then the third step is we put all of our vibrational gifts, tools, wisdom, and mastery for them being that way on them. Now we're not holding our gifts on our own self. And then we get really frustrated because we're wanting to change them, using our tools to change them, but then we start to empathically feel the way that they navigate the world, and we start behaving the way they do. And that is not creating a strong, coherent field of transformation. And so the journey about walking in the world and being of incredible service and being a positive, empathic field is to hold that complete and total attachment for one's own reality completely in one's own self, total responsibility for us holding that vibration of self-love or self-respect, and then modeling that in the world.
Well, maybe there should be a lot more of that happening.
I know, wouldn't that be great? And then we step out of spiritual arrogance, because the moment we get attached and desiring for another person to be a certain way, now we're spiritually arrogant. Mm-hmm. And then the journey of being spiritually arrogant is basically getting pummeled and humbled until we move into humility again. And so I kind of learned this the hard way, but then because I was so empathic and had this desire to help everybody in the world. And after 3 years of high levels of empathic sensitivity, and with that empathic sensitivity, literally processing other people's karma. So like walking around and magnetically drawing to me what was somebody else's journey. And that got my attention really quickly, because I realized that I was no longer walking in my own moccasins by holding that attachment and desire for my own reality, which at first sounds very selfish, and being only responsible for my own journey. Then I start modeling a coherent field that has the capacity to positively, empathically impact people in a really beautiful way without the arrogance.
Wow. That sounds interesting. Yeah, sure. I know that you can imagine, I'm sure, that we have every kind of conspiracy theory going on this place coming into the station, and all the wrongdoings in the planet. So it's very hard to stay above board, but stay on my own journey and let them have theirs. I don't know. It's that's where I need the healing, I guess, or the uplifting, is to get away from a lot of it, and like you did, basically, and let it go. Think about you, and you're okay, and don't take on their problems.
Right. I mean, I sort of think about it, I get a little bit out there because I live in the higher realms often, but I think of it as a higher dimensional campaign because it's much easier to get the angels rallied than humans. And in the higher realms, the conversation is about having those beings of love and light and any
We're losing our connection again.
that wants to basically hold a container of safety, love, and compassion for the people in the world that are doing all the things that we. Oh, are you with me?
Yep.
Hello?
Yep. I'm
Are you here?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So basically, having people in the physical realm and in the higher realms holding a place of compassion for those that need to still be in a place of war, fear, hatred, anger. Because the moment an individual who is in a discordant way of being feels a safe container, they energetically start connecting with that higher vibrational aspect of themselves and they start bringing in higher consciousness. If we are not safe, we will not heal, meaning we will not connect with our higher selves. Guaranteed. It's not going to happen. Mm-hmm. And so if we want to change the world, we have to hold a safe space for all the people that are being the negative force in the world. And I know it sounds kind of radical and a little bit of heresy, but it's almost like, okay, imagine 100,000 people holding a safe and loving space for all of the people to be in a place of hatred and war and projecting that externally. Okay, good. Your soul has not yet mastered self-love. Of course you're going to project it externally. We're going to hold a safe and loving space for you to be in a place of self-hatred, projecting it externally. Go there, do that. And then while we're holding that safe container, we hold in ourselves the solution. We're holding this incredible vibration of self-love and self-respect, modeling that to others, but not attached to them getting it. And then the world starts to shift and change. Now, is our consciousness at a place where we can be only attached to our own internal reality and modeling that in the world? Not yet, but at least we can start having a conversation about it. And the cups of consciousness that I do every day, every weekday, that is starting that energy moving. And there are other people in the world that have the same attitude that are doing, that in their own unique way.
Unfortunately, we lost connection with Aleya, and I hope you enjoyed the program tonight. This is Bobby K, and we'll see you next time on PFRN.